One day in the colony, a man named Douglas woke up from the same nightmare he had often. In the dream, he was with a woman he didn't know but felt very connected to, as they ran away from attackers. While escaping, Douglas was hit by a high-tech taser that shocked him with electricity, causing him to lose hold of her hand. She fell into the water, and Douglas was captured, waking him up in fear. Oddly, the woman was a stranger to him in real life. Douglas was married to Laury, a woman he loved very much. She often became worried whenever he woke from his nightmares. Suddenly, Laury's phone went off with a loud emergency alarm, which unsettled her. She told Douglas about a passenger train explosion in UFB territory, saying she had to go because she worked as an emergency aid worker. Douglas turned on the TV, which was also showing news of the explosion. It was the fourth attack on the UFB in just 4 months. UFB Prime Minister Cohagen blamed the resistance for it. The leader of the resistance, Matthias, who lived in the colony, believed Cohagen was a dictator who took advantage of the colony's people by tricking them with jobs and turning them into slaves. He saw the fall not just as transportation, but as a tool of oppression where people from the colony were sent every day as cheap labor, without fair pay or the lives they deserved. Matthias wanted to shut down the fall and free the colony from Cohagen's rule. Cohagen, however, denied all claims, saying Matthias and the resistance were a terrorist group that wanted world control, not freedom. He accused the people of the colony of sheltering terrorists like Matthias and was determined to stop his plans. Matthias remained hidden underground, avoiding the police. Recently, the police learned about Karl Hauser, a former UFB intelligence officer now believed to be helping the resistance and working as Matthias's right-hand man. Hauser was thought to be behind the recent bombings. Douglas, not involved in the politics, went about his day heading to work. On the way, he saw a billboard for Rekall, an advanced technology that implanted memories of experiences people wanted but could never live in real life. Rekall allowed people to imagine themselves as superheroes, secret agents, or anything they dreamed of, and these dreams felt real, becoming permanent memories. Many treated Rekall like a drug, and Douglas had recently become curious about it. As usual, Douglas traveled with his friend Harry to the UFB and worked at a factory that built robotic police. These robots were used for public safety. While getting ready for work, Douglas asked Harry about Rekall. Harry smiled and warned him to stay away. When Douglas looked confused, Harry explained that a coworker named Travis once went to Rekall to fulfill a fantasy about ruling Mars. But the Rekall technology damaged his brain chemistry, trapping him in his own mind forever, leaving him in a coma. Douglas was shocked. A new worker who had just joined overheard the talk. The supervisor asked Douglas to train him, and while working, the new guy told Douglas that Harry was lying about Rekall. He said he had gone to Rekall 3 times and only made good memories. The worker gave Douglas a card and told him to ask for Mac if he ever decided to go to Rekall. Douglas kept the card. Bored with his dull daily life and wanting excitement, Douglas decided to go to Rekall. After leaving the factory, he went to the Rekall lounge, where he met Mac, a Rekall agent. Mac welcomed him and asked what kind of memories he wanted, being rich, famous, a world-class athlete, or a secret agent saving the world. Douglas chose to be a secret agent. Mac agreed, saying they could implant him as an agent working for the resistance, Cohagen, or even both, since there were no limits in dreams. Douglas accepted. Mac sat him in a chair to start the Rekall process. Before beginning, Mac asked Douglas to be honest if any of the secret lives he wanted, like being a secret agent or having a secret girlfriend, were actually real. He explained that sometimes people came in asking for trips with their secret lovers, but if they had such lovers in real life, the fake and real memories would clash, causing terrible brain damage. Douglas casually answered that he had no secrets. Mac's assistant then stamped the company's mark on Douglas's hand, and Mac started the procedure. But when Mac looked into Douglas's mind, he was shocked. He told his team to stop immediately, saying Douglas was already a secret agent. Mac then pulled a gun on Douglas and demanded to know why he was there. Just then, a UFBSWAT team broke in, killing Mac and his team and taking Douglas prisoner. Douglas was confused and tried to prove he was innocent, but they were set on killing him. Suddenly, Douglas felt an incredible rush of strength and speed. He quickly defeated the entire SWAT team and escaped. His combat skills were sharp, fast, and professional, like he had been trained for years, which was impossible since he had always lived an ordinary life. Douglas ran back home, where his wife Laury was watching the news about the attack at the Rekall lounge. The news announced that the resistance had carried out the attack as a warning to the UFB, killing 20 soldiers. Douglas was stunned and told Laury that it wasn't the resistance, but him, who had killed those 20 UFB soldiers. Laury laughed, asking if he had ever even managed to kill a mosquito. Douglas then explained that he had gone to the Rekall lounge and everything had started after the recall process. Laury immediately suggested it was a side effect of Rekall, saying the company must have implanted these false memories into his mind, but Douglas still felt they were real. Trying to calm him, Laury embraced him, but at that moment something terrifying happened. She squeezed him with such strength that he could barely breathe. Douglas managed to break free, but Laury pulled out a gun and tried to kill him. Enraged, Douglas fought back, grabbed her by the neck, and demanded to know what was wrong with her and why she was doing this. Laury smirked and told him she was only doing her job. Furious, Douglas demanded a clear explanation, even threatening to forget their 7 years of marriage. Laury laughed again and told him she wasn't his wife, but a UFB undercover agent sent to pose as his wife, and that she hadn't even known him 6 weeks earlier. She went on to say that he wasn't who he believed himself to be, which shocked Douglas, though she insisted it was the truth. His identity and memories had been altered by Cohaagen, the UFB leader. She further revealed that he was important to both Cohaagen and the Resistance, because the Resistance wanted him, but Cohaagen had hidden him away by giving him a new identity. Disheartened, Douglas asked who he really was, if he wasn't Douglas, and his life was a lie. Instead of answering, Laury attacked him again, but Douglas managed to escape. Laury then called in reinforcements, sending more agents after him. Douglas blended into the crowd to hide, when suddenly a phone rang, and he noticed something glowing on his hand. Embedded in his palm was a mobile-like device, and the incoming call was coming from it. Douglas answered, and a man named Hammond spoke, telling him to quickly place his hand on a glass surface. When Douglas did so, the glass lit up as a screen, revealing Hammond on a video call. Douglas asked who he was, and Hammond replied that they both worked for the UFB intelligence team. He said he didn't have much time and would be direct. Douglas had told him that if this phone ever activated, Hammond was to deliver a message, "Find the key." Douglas asked what key and who he really was. Hammond said the only thing he could share was that Douglas's real name was Henry, and as for the key, he didn't know. But Douglas had promised he would understand once he heard the message. Hammond warned him to remove the device from his hand immediately, as the UFB police could trace it and capture them both, then ended the call. Disturbed, Douglas placed his hand on the glass again and saw a message appear with a bank locker number. Knowing the location of the bank, he quickly used a shard of glass to cut open his palm, removed the phone, and fled. Moments after he left, Laury and the UFB police unit tracked the signal to the spot but found nothing. Enraged, Laury received a call from Cohaagen, who furiously demanded to know how such a mistake had happened and how Douglas had been activated. Meanwhile, Douglas reached the bank locker identified in the message. Inside, he discovered a box containing several IDs. 2 belonged to unknown men from the colony, while the third was for Henry Reed, a UFB citizen. Since Hammond had also told him his name was Henry, Douglas realized this must be his true identity. The box also contained a collar-like device, a large amount of money, and a piano button, which he pocketed. As he checked the box further, a hidden switch activated, projecting a video of himself in a hospital. In the footage, Douglas explained that if he was watching this, it meant he had failed to escape and had been given a false identity. He instructed his future self to go to his apartment at 549 Hesperian Block D to discover the truth. He added that the key had already been found and Douglas knew what to do with it. The video ended with Douglas being captured by UFB police. Although he didn't understand what the key referred to, he now knew he needed to go to his home in the UFB to find answers. Fortunately, the collar device was a disguise tool capable of changing someone's face. Douglas once again used the crowd to evade capture and reach the highway, though the high-speed magnetic cars made escape nearly impossible. Just then, Laury arrived, and Douglas felt certain his death was near. At that moment, a car pulled up inside was the same woman from his recurring dreams. She let him in and drove him to safety, but the car crashed, knocking her unconscious. Luckily, Douglas's home was nearby. He carried her inside, laid her on a bed, and tended to her wounds. As he looked around the apartment, Douglas noticed a piano. Though he had never played before, his fingers instinctively began performing a beautiful melody. The tune felt buried deep within his memories. While playing, he pressed a broken piano key and remembered the piano button he had found in the locker. Realizing this was the key he had been searching for, he replaced the button and played the tune again. As the melody finished, a holographic projection of Henry Reed appeared above the piano. This was the same Henry Reed whose identity he had discovered in the locker and assumed to be his own. Henry explained that this was an advanced messaging system where Douglas could ask specific questions. He then revealed Douglas's true name, Karl Hauser, showing his real face by removing the disguise. However, after meeting Malina, his perspective changed, and he realized he had been on the wrong side. Hauser revealed that Cohaagen was falsely branding the resistance as terrorists and staging attacks to justify building a robotic army. In truth, this army was designed to wipe out the colony's population and seize their land due to UFB's overpopulation. Just then, Malina woke up and told him they had been searching for him, calling him Hauser. She said she finally found him after he appeared in the news. Douglas angrily replied that his name was Douglas, not Hauser. Malina asked how he could claim that when he already knew her. Douglas insisted he didn't know her, only seeing her in his dreams. Malina firmly told him it wasn't a dream, but his memories, and asked him to explain the scars on his hand. Douglas, with scars on both palms, explains they came from factory work. Malina shows her identical scar and tells him that when Cohaagen discovered he was with the resistance, he was captured and she tried to rescue him. Douglas begins to believe her until UFB sirens close in. They flee but are cornered, where Douglas sees his friend Harry. Harry claims he's only in Douglas's mind, insisting Douglas is still in the Rekall chair and must realize it or be trapped forever. Malina warns Harry is lying, sent by Cohaagen just like Laury. Outside, Douglas sees Laury looking innocent, deepening his confusion. Harry urges him to kill Malina, calling her the root of his troubles. Unsure, Douglas almost shoots her butt, seeing her tears, realizes she's real. He kills Harry, proving she was right. Douglas and Malina escape to Matthias's secret hideout in the no zone. Douglas learns Malina is Matthias's daughter and claims he carries a kill code in his mind that can destroy Cohaagen's army. But when Matthias scans him, the truth is revealed: there is no kill code. It was Cohaagen's trap to find the resistance. Cohaagen's army attacks, killing Matthias and his fighters. Cohaagen then reveals Douglas's past identity. Karl Hauser was never with the resistance but loyal to him, using Malina to reach Matthias. Cohaagen orders Douglas's memory erased to restore Hauser and keep Malina alive for propaganda. Cohaagen prepares to launch his robot army through the fall with Malina imprisoned inside. Douglas hijacks a helicopter, sneaks aboard, and plants bombs. With only minutes before landing, he finds and frees Malina. She fears his love was fake, but he assures her he has always chosen good. They kiss, but UFB soldiers close in. At Earth's core, gravity disappears briefly. Douglas uses the moment to fight back and escape. Reaching the top of the fall, Cohaagen and his guards attack. Douglas is beaten until Malina, piloting the helicopter, mows down the soldiers. Douglas kills Cohaagen, and the bombs detonate, destroying the fall and the robot army. He and Malina leap to safety, narrowly surviving, their mission complete. With the fall destroyed, peace is finally restored. The truth about Cohaagen is exposed, freeing the colony from UFB slavery and his dictatorship. Douglas and Malina rejoice in this new beginning. Yet, when Douglas looks at his own hand, he notices a bandage exactly where Rekall's mark was placed at the start. Removing it, he finds the mark gone. This sparks a disturbing question in his mind: was everything real, or is he still trapped in a fabricated memory? But for Douglas, it no longer matters. Malina is by his side, and his story ends there. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.